Good morning, my friends. Okay, today the computer is set up a little bit different. It might look a little different. The link didn't work this morning, Bonnie. I'm having some issues this morning. The power keeps going out and back on, and so I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with that. That's why my setup looks a little weird this morning. I'm on my phone on cell service, and hopefully there's no skipping or anything like that, because we keep losing power. It keeps going out and back on and out and back on and out and back on. We're having a stupid ice storm in April in Maine. I walked out on the doorstep this morning and it was a solid sheet of ice. I had to break it up and salt it and break it up. I'm like, what is going on? It's 3 days from Easter and we've got an ice storm happening. So things look a little weird. Sorry if the link didn't work. That's weird. I don't know why it didn't work this morning. That's weird. All right. Sorry about that. Usually works. I don't know. And on top of an ice storm, I'm having hot flash. KJ keeps having hot flashes. Whoo, glory. All right. Ready? I'll stop my nonsense and read the word. All right. April 6th. The Levite and his concubine. Ooh, saucy. Concubines. Judges 19, 1 through 30. Now in those days, Israel had no king. There was a man from the tribe of Levi living in a remote area of the hill country of Ephraim. One day he brought home a woman from Bethlehem in Judah to be his concubine. But she became angry with him and returned to his father's home in Bethlehem. After 4 months, her husband set out for Bethlehem to speak personally to her and persuade her to come back. He took with him a servant and a pair of donkeys. When he arrived at her father's house, her father saw him and welcomed him. Her father urged him to stay a while, so he stayed 3 days, eating, drinking, and sleeping there. On the 4th day, the man was up early, ready to leave, but the woman's father said to his son-in-law, "Have something to eat before you go." So the 2 men sat down together and had something to eat and drink. Then the woman's father said, "Please stay around another night and enjoy yourself." The man got up to leave, but his father-in-law kept urging him to stay, so he finally gave in and stayed the night. On the morning of the 5th day, he was up early again, ready to leave, and again the woman's father said, "Have something to eat, then you can leave later this afternoon." So they had another day of feasting. Later, as the man and his concubine and servant were preparing to leave, his father-in-law said, "Look, it's almost evening. Stay the night and enjoy yourself. Tomorrow you can get up early and be on your way." But this time the man was determined to leave. So he took his 2 saddled donkeys and his concubine and headed in the direction of Jebus, that is, Jerusalem. It was late in the day when they neared Jebus, and the man's servant said to him, "Let's stop at this Jebusite town and spend the night here." "No," his master said, "we can't stay in this foreign town where there are no Israelites." My grammar is spot on this morning. Where there is no Israelites. "Instead, we will go on to Gibeah. Come on, let's try to get as far as Gibeah or Ramah, and we'll spend the night in one of those towns." So they went on. The sun was setting as they came to Gibeah, a town in the land of Benjamin. So they stopped there to spend the night. They rested in the town square, but no one took them in for the night. That evening, an old man came home from his work in the fields. He was from the hill country of Ephraim, but he was living in Gibeah, where the people were from the tribe of Benjamin. When he saw the travelers sitting in the town square, he asked them where they were from and where they were going. "We have been in Bethlehem, in Judah," the man replied. "We are on our way to a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim, which is my home. I traveled to Bethlehem, and now I am returning home, but no one has taken us in for the night. Even though we have everything we need, we have straw and feed for our donkeys, and plenty of bread and wine for ourselves." "You are welcome to stay with me," the old man said. "I will give you anything you might need. But whatever you do, don't spend the night in the square." So he took them home with him and fed the donkeys. After they washed their feet, they ate and drank together. While they were enjoying themselves, a crowd of troublemakers from the town surrounded the house. They began beating the door, shouting to the old man, "Bring out the old man who is staying with you so we can have sex with him." Sounds like a rough gang of scallywags. The old man stepped outside to talk to them. No, my brothers, don't do such an evil thing, for this man is a guest in my house. Such a thing would be shameful. Here, take my virgin daughter and this man's concubine. I will bring them out to you, and you can abuse them and do whatever you like. I'm always blown, like, I'm always in shock over this story every time I read it. I will bring them out to you, and you can abuse them and do whatever you like, but don't do such a shameful thing to this man. But they wouldn't listen to him. So the Levite took hold of his concubine and pushed her out the door. The men of the town abused her all night, taking turns raping her until morning. Finally, at dawn, they let her go. At daybreak, the woman returned to the house where her husband was staying. She collapsed at the door of the house and lay there until it was light. When her husband opened the door to leave, there lay his concubine with her hands on the threshold. He said, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. So he put her body on his donkey and took her home. When he got home, he took a knife and cut his concubine's body into 12 pieces. This story is getting better by the minute. Oh my word. Then he sent one piece to each tribe throughout all the territory of Israel. Everyone who saw it said, "Such a horrible crime has not been committed in all the time since Israel left Egypt. Think about it. What are we going to do? Who is going to speak up?" Oh my goodness gracious. If you're just logging into Joyful Daily Devotions with KJ, we don't always talk about rape and murder. Not every morning. But then there are random Thursdays throughout the year, typically April 6th. All right, Israel's war with Benjamin, Judges 21 through 48. Then all the Israelites were united as one man from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, including those from across the Jordan in the land of Gilead. The entire community assembled in the presence of the Lord at Mizpah. The leaders of all the people and all the tribes of Israel, 400,000 warriors armed with swords, took all of their positions in the assembly of the people of God. Word soon reached the land of Benjamin that the other tribes had gone up to Mizpah. The Israelites then asked how this terrible crime had happened. The Levite, the husband of the woman who had been murdered, said, "My concubine and I came to spend the night in Gibeah, a town that belongs to the people of Benjamin. That night, some of the leading citizens of Gibeah surrounded the house and planning to kill me, and they raped my concubine until she was dead. So I cut her body into 12 pieces and sent the pieces throughout the territory assigned to Israel, for these men have committed a terrible, shameful crime. Now then, all of you, the entire community of Israel, must decide here and now what should be done about this. First of all, they should take him out for shoving his concubine out the door." And all the people rose to their feet in unison and declared, "None of us will return home. No, not even one of us. Instead, this is what we will do to Gibeah. We will draw lots to decide who will attack it. 1/10 of the men from each tribe will be chosen to supply the warriors with food, and the rest of us will take revenge on Gibeah of Benjamin for the shameful thing they have done in Israel." So all of the Israelites were completely united, and they gathered together to attack the town. The Israelites sent messengers to the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What a terrible thing has been done among you. Give up those evil men, those troublemakers from Gibeah, so we can execute them and purge Israel of this evil." But the people of Benjamin would not listen. Instead, they came from their towns and gathered at Gibeah to fight the Israelites. In all, 26,000 of their warriors armed with swords arrived in Gibeah to join the 700 elite troops who lived there. Among Benjamin's elite troops, 700 were left-handed, and each of them could sling a rock and hit a target within a hair's breadth without missing. Israel had 400,000 experienced soldiers armed with swords, not counting Benjamin's warriors. Before the battle, the Israelites went to Bethel and asked God, which tribe should go first to attack the people of Benjamin? The Lord answered, "Judah is to go first." So the Israelites left early the next morning and camped near Gibeah. Then they advanced towards Gibeah to attack the men of Benjamin. But Benjamin's warriors who were defending the town came out and killed 22,000 Israelites on the battlefield that day. But the Israelites encouraged each other and took their positions at the same place they had fought the previous day, for they had gone up to Bethel and wept in the presence of the Lord until evening. They had asked the Lord, "Should we fight against our relatives from Benjamin again?" And the Lord had said, "Go out and fight against them." So the next day they went out again to fight against the men of Benjamin. But the men of Benjamin killed another 18,000 Israelites, all of whom were experienced with the sword. Then all of the Israelites went up to Bethel and wept in the presence of the Lord and fasted until evening. They also brought burnt offerings and peace offerings to the Lord. The Israelites went up seeking direction from the Lord. In those days, the Ark of the Covenant of God was in Bethel, and Phinehas, son of Eleazar and grandson of Aaron, was the priest. The Israelites asked the Lord. They probably didn't start their sentence with a big yawn like I just did. Should we fight against our relatives from Benjamin again, or should we stop? The Lord said, Go. Tomorrow I will hand them over to you. So the Israelites set an ambush all around Gibeah. They went out on the third day and took their positions at the same place as before. When the men of Benjamin came out to attack, they were drawn away from the town, and as they had done before, they began to kill the Israelites. About 30 Israelites died in the open fields along the roads, one leading to Bethel and the other leading back to Gibeah. Then the warriors of Benjamin shouted, We're defeating them as we did before. But the Israelites had planned in advance to run away, so that the men of Benjamin would chase them along the roads and be drawn away from the town. When the main group of Israelite warriors reached Baal Tamar, they turned and took up their positions. Meanwhile, the Israelites hiding in ambush to the west of Gibeah jumped up to fight. There were 10,000 elite Israelite troops who advanced against Gibeah. The fighting was so heavy that Benjamin didn't realize the impending disaster. So the Lord helped Israel defeat Benjamin, and that day the Israelites killed 25,100 of Benjamin's warriors, all of whom were experienced swordsmen. Then the men of Benjamin saw that they were beaten. The Israelites had retreated from Benjamin's warriors in order to give those hiding in ambush more room to maneuver against Gibeah. Then those who were hiding rushed in from all sides and killed everyone in the town. They had arranged to set up a large cloud of smoke from the town as a signal. When the Israelites saw the smoke, they turned and attacked Benjamin's warriors. By that time, Benjamin's warriors had killed about 30 Israelites, and they shouted, We're defeating them as we did in the first battle. But when the warriors of Benjamin looked behind them and saw smoke rising into the sky from every part of the town, the men of Israel turned and attacked. At this point, the men of Benjamin became terrified because they realized disaster was close at hand. So they turned around and fled before the Israelites toward the wilderness. But they couldn't escape the battle, and the people who came out of nearby towns were also killed. The Israelites surrounded the men of Benjamin and chased them relentlessly, finally overtaking them at Gibeah. That day, 18,000 of Benjamin's strongest warriors died in battle. The survivors fled into the wilderness towards the rock of Rimmon, but Israel killed 5,000 of them along the road. They continued to chase until they had killed another 2,000 near Gittim. So that day, the tribe of Benjamin lost 25,000 strong warriors and armed with swords, leaving only 600 men who escaped to the rock of Rimmon, where they lived for 4 months. And the Israelites returned and slaughtered every living thing in all the towns, the people, the livestock, and everything they found. They also burned down all the towns as they came to it. Israel provides wives for Benjamin. Judges 21, 1 through 25. The Israelites had vowed at Mizpah, We will never give our daughters in marriage to a man from the tribe of Benjamin. Now the people went to Bethel and sat in the presence of God until evening, weeping loudly and bitterly. O Lord, God of Israel, they cried out, Why has this happened in Israel? Now one of our tribes is missing from Israel. Early the next morning, the people built an altar and presented their burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then they said, Who among the tribes of Israel did not join us at Mizpah when we held our assembly in the presence of the Lord? At that time, they had taken a solemn oath in the Lord's presence, vowing that anyone who refused to come would be put to death. The Israelites felt sorry for their brother Benjamin and said, Today, one of the tribes of Israel has been cut off. How can we find wives for the few who remain, since we have sworn by the Lord not to give our daughters in marriage? So they asked, Who among the tribes of Israel did not join us at Mizpah when we assembled in the presence of the Lord? And they discovered that no one from Jabesh Gilead had attended the assembly. For after they counted all the people, no one from Jabesh Gilead was present. So the assembly sent 12,000 of their best warriors to Jabesh Gilead with orders to kill everyone there, including women and children. This is what you are to do, they said, completely destroy all the males and every woman who is not a virgin. Among the residents of Jabesh Gilead, they found 400 young virgins who had never slept with a man. So they brought them to the camp at Shiloh in the land of Canaan. The Israelites assembly sent a peace delegation to the remaining people of Benjamin who were living at the rock of Rimmon. Then the men of Benjamin returned to their homes, and the 400 women of Jabesh Gilead who had been spared were given to them as wives. But there were not enough women for all of them. The people felt sorry for Benjamin because the Lord had made this gap among the tribes of Israel. So the elders of the assembly asked, "How can we find wives for the few who remain, since the women of the tribe of Benjamin are dead? There must be heirs for survivors so that the entire tribe of Israel is not wiped out. But we cannot give them our own daughters in marriage because we have sworn with a solemn oath that anyone who does this will fall under God's curse." Then they thought of the annual festival of the Lord that the Lord held, the annual festival of the Lord held in Shiloh, south of Lebonah and north of Bethel, along the east side of the road that goes from Bethel to Shechem. They told the men of Benjamin who still needed wives, "Go and hide in the vineyards. When you Go hide in the vineyards. When you see the young women of Shiloh come out for their dances, rush out from the vineyards, and each one of you can take one of them home to the land of Benjamin to be your wife. And when their fathers and brothers come out to us in protest, we will tell them, 'Please be sympathetic. Let them have your daughters, for we didn't find wives for all of them since we destroyed Jabesh Gilead. And you are not guilty of breaking the vow, since you did not actually give your daughters to them in marriage.'" They were taken. So the men of Benjamin did as they were told. Each man caught one of the women as she danced in the celebration and carried her off to be his wife. They returned to their own land, and they rebuilt their towns and lived in them. Then the people of Israel departed by tribes and families, and they returned to their own homes. In those days, Israel had no king. All the people did whatever seemed right in their own eyes. Oh my word. Right, Faith? Instead of plenty of fish in the sea, it's plenty of dancing virgins in the vineyard. It's a fancy biblical website where they find a wife. Whoop, we're not going to read the Term Healthy Plan book today. I pulled up the wrong thing. We're going to read this. And let's see if I can post the name and the day here. Let me see. I'm on my phone, so it's a little different for me. Unshakable, right there. We are on day 95 of Unshakable. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Is that what Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is about? I've never seen that. I've never seen it. All right, April 6th, a piece of cake. Colossians 1:7 says, "He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." Think about the ingredients you need to make a chocolate cake. It's quite a list. Yet when the slab of chocolatey deliciousness is sitting in front of you, the last thing you think about is the individual ingredients, unless you're a Term Healthy mama. And then you're like, is this made with sugar or super sweet? Yet each ingredient is key to its success. Once baked, it's impossible to separate the ingredients again, not that you'd want to. Similarly, every area of our life is interconnected and mixed together: spiritual, relational, emotional, and physical. The whole, which is who we are, is a sum of each of its parts. Simultaneously, I am a Christian, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a pastor, a preacher, an author, and all the other facets that make me. I used to wrongly think that my priorities in life had to be in certain order. I was constantly frustrated because I never seemed to have enough time for anything, especially God, and He was at the top of my list. God never intended for life to be a juggling act, nor for us to feel that if we nurture one aspect of our lives, it will be at the expense of another. Together, they make us who we are, and He made us whole. Lord, thank you for all the things that make me me. Help me view everything as interconnected so I can be all that you made me to be. All right. Okay, let me read through the rest of the comments over here. My power stayed on. I'm surprised. Right before I went live, it was like turning off and on, turning off and on. Which is probably why the linking in the text didn't work this morning. All right. Such a good group on here this morning. I love seeing this devotion grow. I love seeing this devotions grow. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and end our morning together in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, I thank you so much for today, the blessing of Thursday. Thank you for all that you have given us and that you bless us with. I pray, Father, that you will help us to be good stewards of everything that you've given us. I pray that you will help those out driving around Maine today to be safe on the icy roads. And I pray that you will let this pass soon. Some of us in Maine are just tired of ice, Lord, please. I pray, Father, that you will go before us today. Help us to keep our eyes and hearts focused on you. Help us to keep our talk pure and help us to just be a reflection of you to our friends, our family, and our community. Just everywhere we go, may we be a picture of you. In your precious name I pray. Amen. All right, my friends. Thanks for joining me this morning. I will be live for breakfast in just a couple of minutes. I have absolutely zippo idea what I'm going to make for breakfast this morning. None whatsoever. I don't know. I will figure it out in the next 5 minutes. And I will be live for breakfast. I love you all so much. Thanks again for joining. Sorry the texting link didn't work this morning. We'll get that working tomorrow. Hopefully the power won't be flickering tomorrow and then we won't have to worry about it. All right, guys. I love you so much. Have a blessed day.